when Paul first came to you, Daniel,
yes,
what was the idea? What was it that he sort of spoke to you about?
I absolutely can't remember. He had a few pages that he dug up from his office, which had been swirling around for quite a while, I think. And he had a short story which we both read. And all I can remember about the beginning is that there was a man and a woman, and the man was a bit older, and he got what happens when he gets sick, and the woman begins to take care of him. That's as far as I remember, that was what we began with.
Okay. And this would have been a couple of years before you started filming?
Yes, yeah.
And so how does it progress from there?
It starts... It's one of those things like, you know, remember those programs where you won a prize and you got 10 minutes to ransack a supermarket and just
supermarket sweep.
Help yourself to stuff off the shelf. So you're not really that... Things narrow down as you go along, but it begins very broadly just with ideas, which may or may not start to fit somewhere, and may then, even if they fit, get discarded later on. So it's very abstract.
Oh, Vicky, on the second day you were...
Well, that was on the hill where we walk.
Yes.
And the only thing we're saying now is 2 lines or something.
Yeah.
And you have the cliffs in the background. There was quite a lot of text, and I just never said it.
Yeah, I remember that well. You planted your standard in the ground, and this is me. You better learn to live with it.
I don't know, I couldn't say it. But then in the end, now the scene it made so much sense that I wouldn't say it, because even from there, he took away much more. That was, because it was all to explain Alma.
It was self-conscious, which, yeah, you don't know with dialogue, and really until you start speaking it. Not aloud to yourself, but, you know, when you start working with a person, and then very often it just doesn't quite seem to work, and you have to figure that out.
Yeah. But you don't know until you actually start doing it together, I guess. And
that's right.
That very first, that wonderful breakfast scene, as I understand it, you two hadn't really met until that point.
I was very nervous. Yes.
Were you?
Very nervous. I always get nervous. Yes. Yeah.
I find that hard to believe for some reason.
Well.
Yeah, but maybe that's part of it, I guess.
Yeah.
And what about you, Vicky? How do you recall that scene?
I was very nervous too,
right?
Obviously, and then I was trying to look not nervous and trying to pretend that I know what I'm doing. I was pretending I know how to be a waitress. Right. I was pretending I'm not nervous. I was pretending I don't care that that's a famous actor, and so I was just pretending everything. And I was pretending so well that I even forgot to look on the floor, and I tripped. I don't know, and that... It's like when you're very nervous.
That's where the moment she won me, when she tripped over, and that was it. I was.
You were lost.
I was her victim.
Does the dynamic then change? Do you then think, okay, we're off and running?
Yeah, I think it does, and also, of course, because you don't tell the entirety of the story between these two people, it's important that it's a life accelerated in a way, and so then you have to find ways of being familiar with each other way before the time that you would naturally be so, and so that there's a different kind of work. And
did you know much about that world of haute couture before?
To say that for myself and Paul, what changed it radically was the moment when we, in complete innocence of what we were letting ourselves in for, thought we needed to find a profession for this man. We had a sense of what his character might be, but we didn't know what his profession was, except it was in some creative field. And something lit up when we thought of him being a couturier, but it was only subsequently, when we were feeling really pleased with ourselves, we realised we'd now got an enormous mountain to climb. I mean, an additional mountain. Yeah. So I knew nothing, is the short answer.
You've said this is your last film, Daniel. Is there anything any of us can do to try and persuade you otherwise?
Oh, well, you can... I mean, you're welcome to try, but I mean, it's certainly true that it's a rash thing to do to make any decision. A bit like they say, you know, don't, you know, if you're having a crisis, don't move house. Don't, you know, there are certain things you probably shouldn't do. And you know, I know Vic is the same. That you finish a piece of work and you need to go to a home for the bewildered for a while. You just don't quite know how anything functions the way it did before. So it's a rash thing to do to make a big decision. But I've been through that process many times, and I understood when I made my decision that that was not probably the best time to do it. But it's kind of precisely because of the understanding of this thing that I did. Anyhow, enough said. And your experience with Paul, you didn't get to say.
The same. I don't know. I couldn't say what my character is, and I couldn't say what the story is, because everything I did felt like I'm doing it blindfolded. So I don't know. I trusted Paul, and my working with Paul was following someone into the ocean or wherever he would go, I would follow, and that's what I did, really.
It paid off. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks.